Canvas had another glow up, and with it came a really awesome tool called Canva Code that essentially lets you describe something that you want, some kind of interactive widget or experience that normally someone would have to code for you for it to work, and it will do the coding for you. So in this new look, we now have a tab called Canva AI. And when I click on this little bubble here, I get some options right down here at the bottom. And I'm going to focus on this bubble that says code for me. So now that I have that selected, I can just start to describe my idea, and Canva will do its best to code that idea. And the results are pretty awesome. You see that there's some suggestions down here of things that it does really well in terms of coding, but you can come up with a lot of different ideas. So I've played around with some examples, and I can find those examples by clicking this open menu and basically seeing this chat here. This kind of looks similar to like chat GPT history, but I can go through and see different experiences that I've already dreamed up here. So I'll start with this interactive vocabulary idea. And so what happens when I click on it is it takes me into the conversation that I've had with Canva Code. I've given it some instructions, and each time it codes something for me, it gives me a version. So you can see that I iterated several times here to the point that I had 6 different versions of this interactive. And you can click on any version and see exactly how it was for that version. So starting with my most recent version, this is the game that it came up with based on my descriptions of, a fun vocabulary game where students have to guess the word based on 5 emojis. So I had 2 lists of vocab words, and I get my 5 emojis here. I see how many letters the word is. If I need a hint, I can click that, and it'll give me a hint. And I'm thinking this is cipher. So I guess that, and it kind of gives me a little breakdown, kind of fun. You got it correct. Graphics, and then a breakdown of what each emoji was supposed to mean. So you can see like there's a little bit of text overlapping there. So it's definitely not perfect. But I've found that as long as I'm willing to continue to iterate and ask it for the changes, it gets better and more refined each time until it's something that I would actually use with students. So a very, very cool addition to what Canva can do for you. If you think of it in Canva's universe, they have kind of the market cornered on visual design, and this is like another layer. You have pictures, you have videos, you have audio, and now you have any kind of interactives that you can dream up. There are some limitations for sure. It doesn't do super well with graphics. So beyond emojis, if I ask it for some kind of visual, it tries to piece it together, but it looks kind of like a stick figure drawing usually. So I'll show you another example. This is a side-scrolling game that I tried to generate. You can see I have 4 different versions here. What I landed on was something with emojis, and this is pretty sharp looking, right? We see we can do some fun stuff with fonts. And it looks like a pretty solid, clean game. So I'm playing this game. I'm just trying to jump over these monsters. There will be I can attack them, get points that way, or I can get these little bonus point objects. So this looks pretty sharp. This is not how it started though. So if I were to go back to the first version, you can see my guy here is kind of pieced together very low graphics. And this is a similar experience no matter what. They don't pull in real images necessarily beyond emojis. And I'm sure there's a great reason for that. I do not have a coding background, so I can't speak to all the inner workings of this. But as a teacher, this is a really awesome opportunity to create things that don't exist in my other resources. So again, I'm able to just continue to describe what I want and iterate that description until I get something that's exactly what I was picturing. And you can see, my input here is not super involved. If I were to add a lot more detail, I'm sure that that would result in even better, more specific, closer to what I was dreaming of kind of results. But I prefer to kind of chunk it out and see what it comes up with, and then make changes from there. It does take a little while. It's not as fast as generating just regular text with ChatGPT. So let's create something new. Let's create whodunit game with 3 suspects. Each suspect should have an alibi, a witness against them, a piece of physical evidence, and a possible motive. This is for 5th grade students. So you'll see that it'll think about it and kind of take what I give it and summarize it in a way that makes sense for what it's trying to create. And then it starts coding, and you can kind of track the number of coding lines up here, which is kind of fun. I've seen these go anywhere from like 250 to 1,300 lines of code, depending on how complex the request is. This one probably won't be as high as the others, but it's neat to be able to watch the code playing out as it's generating it for you. Now, this is not a tool that I would say helps you learn code. This is kind of cutting out the middleman, right? And in fact, I haven't been able to find a way to actually access this code anywhere. They let you see it, but as soon as it's done, it goes right into the actual interface where you're testing the end product. And you can put that into your Canva design, but I haven't been able to find a way to actually like find this code somewhere to copy and paste it into a web browser or HTML or whatever. So it kind of it's like protected in the Canva environment, I think. Okay, so I cut out some of the time where it was actually coding. It took maybe 2 minutes. Not something that you want to sit around and watch in a video, but also not a deal breaker for you generating your own coding projects. So taking a look at what we have here, you can see we didn't rely too heavy on visuals here, but it's got a nice clean layout. Things are clickable. The best inputs that I've found are text inputs, clickable inputs, drag and drop inputs. So these are ways that players are interacting with your games, or students are interacting with your widgets. I did try like creating something where you could draw a vocabulary word, and it worked, but it was a little bit off in terms of calibration, and it didn't seem like any iteration quite got there. But that could just be a unique to that one experience that it was coding. That game that I had coded previously, I was using keyboard inputs to jump and attack and all of that. So this is pretty cool. I have text inputs. I can type. I have all this evidence to consider, and then I can choose who I think did it. This one's pretty simple. I have another example. Let's do this one where it's a little bit more involved in terms of clicks. So I can see my different profiles here, and you can see, these are not emoji images, so they kind of cobbled these together very stick figure-like, and this is even after I prompted it to improve the images. But when I click on these, I get a nice little pop-up window that will show me the alibi, the witness, evidence, and possible motive. So these are a little bit more interactive, and I can actually, it gave me this option without me really asking for it, to add any piece of evidence to my notebook. So I can just click that and it'll go into my notebook, which I can see at any point down here, clicking this little button. And I can continue to the evidence board, and we have kind of drag and drop options here, which is kind of cool. Wouldn't let me do that. There we go. So a little bit more interactive, my notes down here. But again, that was a very quick description that I threw into that box, and it came up with something that was functional. If I wanted it to be more involved, I would ask for those details, and it would do its best to bring that to life. And my experience so far is that it does a really good job of bringing that experience to life. If I were to go to ChatGPT and ask for code, then I kind of become the middleman, copying and pasting that code somewhere else, making my own changes, or finding errors and having to report those errors back to ChatGPT. And it's a very sloppy process, especially if you don't have a lot of experience coding. Whereas this, you don't really need any experience coding. You just need to be good at asking for what you want, thinking about the details, thinking about the way things look, and asking for those in very specific ways. Right? I don't actually have to do anything with the code. It functions right within Canva. So this is a very cool update and opens up the doors to a lot of different opportunities in the classroom.